of order.
And the meeting is over.
Chair, point of order. The meeting's not over. I've raised the point of order. And I am legally entitled to resign from this council, Chair. Are you saying I'm not?
Well,
am I not allowed? I find your brand of censorship, Chair, is disgraceful. For a member of what would be a party who talks about equality, that you want to censor me from standing down as a councillor, Chair. And I want legal advice on that now, so you can get Eddie Curtis in here to see if you're within your legal rights. Because you're wrong. As well as morally, it's despicable. And once again, another attack on Brenton Curran and Brenton Curran's family. Which I expect from you, and it is absolutely despicable. And I look at the rest of you sitting around here, and I'm no wonder you're embarrassed, because I'd be embarrassed too, Mickey. And I think it's your brand of republicanism which is destroying republicanism in this area. And you can smirk all you want.
I'm not smirking at all.
Well, maybe I must be going blind.
And
I am legally allowed, and entitled to resign.
We will get opinion on that there first.
I don't need your opinion, Mickey.
Well, you will.
Standing order says that I can resign if I want.
You will not be speaking.
Mickey, what are you going to do? You're going to put me out?
Well,
then I will speak, Mickey, and then I'll say it.
I prefer to see somebody get somebody in to put you right, but that won't happen.
Well, do you know what, Mickey? At least that would be more, less embarrassing than what you try to do to censor. Absolute disgrace. And I'm delighted. It's your censor. You're refusing to let me have my say, and it isn't Chairman's business. I'm entitled to resign from this council, and after 30 years, 28 and a half representing the party, making the T-shirt that you wear so shamelessly, and then you refuse me. That's equality. That's what Sinn Féin's about. This is the equality. This is what you're voting for. And do you know what? Mickey Brady's his representative. So get out and vote for him. I've been in this chamber and I've been called a murderer and a killer and a bomber by loyalists. Do you know what? You know what? They never stop me from speaking. Yeah, go ahead, Perry Hardy. Tell them all, the boys and girls, to get out. But I read it out for the people that's here, because it'd be embarrassing. And it's shameful that our mayor is away out as well.
Couldn't shame Sinn Féin enough.
I just want to thank my wife, who despite the onslaughts and attacks on us and our home, stood shoulder to shoulder with me throughout the entire journey. I want to thank the children who still have to live with the legacy of being the children of a Republican ex-prisoner and a councillor who had to sleep in their bedrooms with inch-thick plate armour steel on their bedrooms to keep them safe at night. I want to thank the council staff who sat up in the wee small hours of the council meeting and who helped me. And I want to talk particularly about Paddy O'Hagan, Kevin O'Neill, Thomas McCall, and of late Eddie Curtis, and all the council staff who work in all the wee small offices who make us councillors as successful as we are and as accountable as we are, and I think that should be paid tribute to them. Life as a councillor, and in particular life as a Sinn Féin councillor, was a very dangerous and difficult place to be. It was also a very lonely place to be. And I often remark that no matter how packed a room was, because of my brand of politics and because of my unrepentantness, there was always room for me, because people give you that leper effect and move away from you. I was elected as the first Sinn Féin councillor in Newry in over 70 years. I was the first Sinn Féin chairman. I was the first Republican chair of the local policing committee, and those were groundbreaking and leading our community, and I'm very proud of that. Very importantly, the last 18 months, and it's a pity my Sinn Féin colleagues of the past didn't stay here for this, because they're up their neck in it, as you've seen from Mickey. The last 18 months have been particularly difficult for my family and I, where I had no choice but to remove myself from what I call the Newry and South Armagh version of Sinn Féin, a group which has become the property of a small domineering clique controlled by a state-like character in Sinn Féin, who tries to remove his opposition by the gang mentality. And I, as a whistleblower, raised this issue, and I raised it within the Republican movement. And they came and they visited me and my wife, and they took our opinion. And on the basis of that opinion, they then went and spoke to other people, and they discovered that Brenton Curran was right. that what was going on in the Republican movement in Newry was wrong. So they set about a whole review, and they removed the leadership of the Republican movement in Newry, and they replaced it by a man from Short Strand. They put him in place to try and clear up the Newry situation. For 6 months they tried that, and it didn't work. Back. And as a whistleblower, I then became the victim. And whistleblowers, like sex abuse victims, they become the victim. And speaking about sex abuse victims, I raised within Sinn Fein about a paedophile priest who had abused hundreds of our children in this district, in all our schools in this district. And I was told by this steak knife character that that was negative publicity, that I needed to drop that, and we shouldn't be talking about that. That's how Sinn Fein seen it then. And then we talk about the young fella who came out recently, Francie Malloy, made an absolutely absurd and scandalous decision, and then he withdrew it quickly. But he done the damage. We'll see the victims in this area and in Francie's area. He's told them to keep their mouth shut because nobody's going to listen to you. And sadly, that's what is going to happen. Victims will not come out, and victims will find it hard to come out. So that's my history with regard to that. Negative campaigning. That's what raising the issue of child abuse. Hundreds of them in our schools, and that's what it's classed as by some of our Sinn Féin colleagues. Regrets. I have to say, in my 43 years as Republican, I regret very little. And that's not to say that I would not have wished that there was another way to achieve the things. But personally, I once again reiterate my regret, and he's not here tonight, Davy Hyland and his family with the Republican movement treated him. Again, the steak knife character spun the wheels and the yarns about Davy Hyland, and people followed it, and I sadly did too, and I regret that. And then we had the issue of the killing of Ian Marley, the son of a good friend of mine. And again, steak knife put out the lies, and I was the public mouthpiece, and I spun out those lies, believing they were the truth, and they weren't. They were wrong, and they were shameful. And these people still talk about executed touts. They talk about Jean McConville, when the Republican movement, in fairness to it, talked about it being terrible and a dark part of our history. We have people in that clique down there who still call them executed touts. And that's why I felt that there was no place for my brand of honourable politics within Newry Sinn Féin. And I just hope it isn't replicated throughout the rest of the district. And other people will verify every single thing that I have said here. So, I say to them, and it's an old song that they use, the higher they build their walls, the taller I become. So I don't care what lies, and the walkout. Shameful. And I can be sure that Mickey, hopefully, will have to answer to Jerry Adams why he walked out. And they talked about the SDLP a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? And they refused to let a man who gave 43 years of his life, a lot of it in prison, to have his last say as a councillor in this chamber. But the people will judge them. So, I do want to thank the council workers. I've enjoyed my role as a councillor. I've actually been able to do a lot of good with my councillor. I want to thank my councillor colleagues, even though sometimes we didn't agree politically, they helped us to achieve the greater goal, well, it's economic development and all the rest of that. So, on behalf of myself and my family, I'd just like to wish you well and hope his work, and don't do what these people do. Shameful. And Charlie threatening the court about his daughter. It's there on Facebook for everybody to see, and I'll show him the private messages his daughter sent me. So let him take me to court. But sadly I have to take this council to court because it breaks the decency that I showed this council. So, best of luck in your new term, and particularly Jackie, myself and Frank, who are retiring. We just slip into the sunset.
My age.